Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. Happy Sunday to you and your family. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We're just going to talk a bit about API3 here and kind of see why we took that trade, more specifically, how we took the profits we did and what went into that setup. Okay, because again, I like to kind of explain the reason for our take profit targets and a few other key factors, but also important, how much further is this price going to pull back if it does? Okay, so again, there's some important things to look at, such as liquidity and a few other little fair value gaps that I was able to identify earlier as well, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. Okay, so that being said, if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love to teach people to trade. Here are the results of that trade. We got 84% in 8 hours, and this is only 5x leverage, mind you. Imagine 20x leverage, right? Again, I recommend using smaller leverage, smaller position sizing when taking swing trades like this, especially when you're buying the bottom. But again, that's a pretty healthy profit percentage based on just a small amount of leverage. Okay, so again, we took some healthy profits there. Congrats again to my community members. And what we want to do is look at, well, not just the reason why, but let's look first at why the price action could stay where it's at and go higher. Okay, because I get a lot of folks, I know some communities that actually shorted the top, or what they thought was a top right here at the previous resistance there at about $1.17. They got smashed. Okay. Second group is trying to short right here in the 1.272 range, basically $1.26, and that's essentially a key Fibonacci retracement level, and there's a lot of liquidity there. Okay, and what I mean by that is if we take a look at the kind of larger picture, the previous high liquidity level, we can see a lot of consolidation at this range. Smaller time frames will identify that. That's an area of which once we've broken through that, then there's more potential for upswing. Okay, so try to be careful shorting this coin. It seems extra juicy, and in truth, you're not wrong by thinking that shorting this coin would be appropriate. Look at every instance in the past. We've got multiple occasions where the price action will wick up and inevitably turn itself around. Okay, so it's kind of just the standard rinse and repeat of this coin. Okay, right? So it consistently overextends itself and then retraces. Okay. Now again, it's not to say that this cannot hold, but statistically, we're more likely to fall back than we are to increase based on that sentiment. But you never take a trade based on just the previous history as well. You want to kind of look at what's going on here currently and recognize that we're getting closer to the bottom and that there's a decent chance with this liquidity level there, about 1.414, $1.31. We could very well see that be the consolidation area and then the next leg up from here. Okay, so again, key level resistance in the past turns support. It's kind of that standard story there. Okay, so again, try not to short your shirt off. I know a lot of folks just instantly jump into a short as soon as the price spikes up. It makes sense, but it's not. There's a lot more to it. Okay, we'll talk about that. That said, though, again, areas of liquidity here providing a lot of support in those ranges. We blasted straight through this previous resistance at 117, and now once more at 131. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. So first of all, when we took this trade, the price action was basically bouncing, or essentially I wouldn't say bouncing because the price wasn't even bouncing at the time when we took this trade, but it was actually nearing that 30 on the RSI. And to me, that's a common support level, right? We can also see here too as well where the price action, the way that it kind of worked itself out. I'll show you on smaller time frames, but there's a pattern that you could see in the charts that led this to be a very nice entry. That being said, we look at the MACD here, strong convergence. There's no reason for this just to turn itself right around. Once again, in its history, we can see that it's done so before where it's converged pretty strong, and then it shifts momentum for a day and continues higher. We see 3 white soldiers here, 3 white soldiers there. It seems to be when these overextensions occur, they're led into with an extra 1 or 2 days of momentum. Okay, so this being day number 1, it would probably be a bad idea to short. Okay, again, I hope I'm wrong and the price does what you want it to do. But generally speaking, I also hope I'm right too, because we got a profit target at 149, I think it is, for a fourth target there. And because again, we have majority of our positions been filled, but we've got some left in the game, some skin in the game, where that price action should hit and trigger an additional take profit target. Let's look at the 4 hour though. One thing to recognize here in the 4 hour, and this is kind of the pattern I wanted to kind of discuss with you. Let's see if we can get this up. What's important to recognize is when the price action continues to, because this lower range here, it's kind of dangerous to buy on that dip, right? And again, it is a slight risk to take that dip, but you can see previously there was some liquidity here in this range, at least on the daily, right? We've got this large liquidity pool here. Okay, so oftentimes when you retest those liquidity levels, there's usually a shift in momentum. But that being said, we can see the price action kind of working itself up here where we break that most recent low, and then it works as a resistance level, comes back down, fills this liquidity gap, and then it takes off from there. Now, I was not expecting the price to shoot up that fast and that hard. All right, am I happy with it? Totally. But on the same accord, I was prepared for the fair value gap at the very least to get filled in this range here, and then also that previous liquidity to be swept. It got swept and then some. So this is really nice to see this, but generally speaking, that little pattern you can see there, where we basically broke through a previous low, established itself as a high, and then swept the bottom. That's a pretty obvious, at least to me, again, after reading charts for so long, an area to maximize your benefit. Again, you want to be very careful buying dips like this. But once again, it wasn't just kind of a drop in a hat. It was there's something else to it. I'll show you on the smaller time frames as well here what also led me to buy where we got in here. Because I think we got in at, what was it, 0.895, if I'm not mistaken. So roughly just say 9 cents even. So looking at the 1 hour here, what we want to identify is a few other things. First of all, overextension is going to be a little funky here, right? So we were overextended going into this push. But you got to understand, this overextension was not that big of an overextension when you look at it. Just kind of the overall sense of where it was at, okay? Now, why I decided to take the trade was a couple of reasons, but mainly we had this resistance level here where the price action couldn't break through the first time. And we broke through the second time, so we took entry right here at 0.895. Okay? Now, coincidentally, it just took off from there. It was a perfect entry. They're not always the same. They don't always work out that way. But the key here is a previous resistance was established, and it came back down to essentially try to retest that as a support. So again, a lot of the trading that I do is just understanding specific key level resistances. Once they break, you try to buy that new top as the new bottom, essentially, right? Because it flips from resistance to support. So that's essentially what we did there in that sense. It was more so a 15-minute play, honestly, though. So I was looking at the 15 time frame. I could see here that we had stochastics RSI swinging down. And that's another reason why I took the trade there as well, because there's a lot of confirming factors, plus stochastic being overextended to the downside, previous resistance turned support. So just a lot of little things that kind of factored in here. So again, I don't expect you to memorize all this or to utilize all this in your own trading, but in truth, if you want to go on autopilot, again, cryptocash.tag is a site. If you want to become a better trader and just more so have some automated trades working for you. This was one of our automated trading bots. We took profits at 30, 50, and 86%. We've got 2 more targets left to hit. So I'm hoping we hit those targets. And talking about that, by the way, in order to understand how much further this could go, we need to likely consolidate at this previous liquidity zone. Okay, so if we take a look here, right at 1.414 rather, a Fibonacci retracement level at $1.31. If we can get the price action to consolidate there, we're going to be in pretty good shape. And as a matter of fact, if we take a look at the hourly, we should be able to identify that the price action has done so exactly right there. So we see a price come down, essentially consolidate right between those two levels. That was a previous resistance right here, by the way, and this is the new liquidity zone. And the price action consolidating right there, it would make a lot of sense for the price to continue higher from here, especially with a lot of shorts entering the market. They're probably going to get squeezed out here soon, if not already. Okay, so again, be careful shorting a coin just instantly. I mean, obviously you could have maybe made some profit in this little range here, nice little 7% or something, but generally speaking, when coins run like this, it's important to wait for confirmation, and there's no confirmation the price is going to pull back. Only confirmation we have is, yes, it's overextended, but we're also through some specific key level resistances, and those should establish themselves as support. So 131 is a pretty obvious support level to me now that it's being established. We will see here soon if that's going to hold, but just be mindful. It's important to be careful with trades like this here, because of the simple fact that they can run, as you can see, very fast. All right, I hope that makes sense and it was beneficial for you. I know I jumped around a lot and through a lot of different, higher level stuff or just more back end stuff that I maybe don't normally talk about, but those are all things that I take into consideration when I do my trades. While everything I normally go through in my videos is important, it's kind of a foundation of understanding it. With coins like this, you play things a little different when you're trying to maximize your benefit on those liquidity zones. Okay? Again, all this is in my Trading Academy. I hope that you can learn from that. Of course, if you're currently a community member, make sure to use that benefit that's available to you through our site when you log in. All right, thanks again so much for joining me here. Again, if you are new to the channel, though, help us grow the channel. Again, CryptoCash.tech is a site to register. We also have cash trading here as well, and we also have a Telegram group which is kind of just an equivalent version of this, where we have a lot of different beneficial playout charts. All my videos are uploaded there, and same thing with our Discord too. That's free as well, link down below. All right, I hope that I described this correctly. Thanks again so much for joining me here. Hope you have a good rest of your day, a wonderful weekend. We'll see you again soon. Take care.